Welcome back to Beyond the Helmet, man, and Happy New Year. We are now in 2022, which means that it is time to start talking to some of the guys that are going to be the future of the NFL. And I get to kick it off with possibly the first person in about 50 years to get drafted out of FSU. And no, we're not talking about the Seminoles. We're talking about Fayetteville State, the Broncos. Joining me tonight, man, it's Josh Williams, a first-team All-CIAA, an HBCU All-American this year, and, of course, Senior Bowl bound. Man, it's been a pretty good year, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, I'm blessed to be in the position I am. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time. And as good as 2021 was for you, man, 2022, seemingly this is only the jumping off point. You get to embark on this crazy journey where you're going to be playing with the best seniors in the country. And, of course, that path leads to the NFL draft. So this time of year, and technically we're recording this right before Christmas, but man, you got a little bit of time before that game. So what are you doing right now? How are you just trying to keep yourself mentally and physically ready so that by the time you get down to Mobile, you'll be ready to go?
Right. So for this past week, I kind of moved my whole operation down to Miami. I'm training with Pete Bomarito, and so far everything's great. They got a great staff down there, great group of guys I'm training with. And I'm getting after it every day. They're giving me good meals, working on any kind of mobility, flexibility things, and getting stronger all together. So all of these things, kind of just being here and getting all the treatment, all the work and all the tips that I can is, I think, really going to help me when I get down there to Mobile. And I know I'm gonna go down there and put on a show.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. And what fascinates me about your story is that, you weren't this highly touted high school recruit. Obviously, you were physically gifted, but I mean, at this point in your career, you're still pretty young at playing corner. When it comes to really tweaking, working and training, tweaking your craft to be ready for the Senior Bowl and beyond, how do you focus on what you want to work on and what you want to improve upon?
Right. No player is perfect. And everybody has their flaws. I don't know if there's one thing in particular I need to work on, but I do know my game as a whole is definitely something I want to improve on. And like you said, I've been playing corner my whole life. I started playing in my senior year of high school. And I give most of that credit to my high school coach, Coach Brian Farson. He coaches at Sewan University now. But I train with him when I'm back in Fayetteville. And he keeps me kind of on my toes. He watches my film, my games. Man, he watches me train, and he gives me tips. He criticizes me and tells me what to work on. And that's a big influence in what I kind of choose to focus on, maybe that week, that month, or whatever. And like I said, for the most part, it's just tweaking a couple of things here or there, and just making sure everything's sharp and as crisp as it can be.
So you start playing your senior year of high school, cornerback. I mean, not just football, but through this evolution over the last, 4 or 5 years, what has been the hardest for you to get right and tweak? Has there been any part in particular that's been sort of the most difficult for you to really learn the nuances of the position?
I don't want to say it was just natural, but it definitely felt more. It felt more fluid playing corner as opposed to when I was a receiver. When I was a receiver, it seemed like I couldn't catch a cold, and all of a sudden, people are talking about how good my ball skills are as a corner, and that was definitely due to hard work, stuff like that. But just kind of learning how to control your body, flip to the ball, knowing when to do certain things with your body, whether it be crack your hips or stay square, things like that. A lot of it is just repetition and, film. Like, you got to watch yourself play to know what you're good or bad at. And, I think I've done a good amount of that to kind of be at the position I am now.
The position you're in now, I'd imagine that back in high school, maybe early high school, I should say, was it even a thought? Because as far as I could tell, you were more of like a basketball guy, but particularly a track guy. Like, at what point were you like, hey man, this football thing might take me somewhere?
Yeah, like you said, big track guy. My dad was my track coach. I was running in USA track and field national championship stuff like that. I loved football more than track. I was just so happened to be better at track. And I was thinking, matter of fact, I honestly was planning on joining the military because I know I didn't really want to on track professionally unless I had to, or in the collegiate level unless I had to. And my plan was to, go to the military, get my degree, be an officer, or something like that. And my senior year, I kind of had the opportunity to go and play the next level, and that's I think after my senior year was kind of when I was like, of course, I always had dreams of playing professional football since a young age. Like since I was playing running back, I wanted to be the next Adrian Peterson. But yeah, I'd say my senior year, I was kind of like, well, I'm very fast. I would hit my growth spurt. So I was probably like 6'2" at that point. And I was like, I don't think there's a lot of corners who have those attributes, even in the NFL. And I was, just thinking, if I put in the work, I know I could do what those guys do. I watch them play, and I see, what it takes to get to the next level. So, that's kind of around the time I started putting it together.
So at what point do you actually, you're dream chasing like any kid should be when they're, 17, 18 years old. At what point in the process do you actually cross over into having like legitimate belief, like this might come together? Did you always have it? Or because it's easy to sit here today and be like, wow, man, the senior year that you just had and like getting invited to the Senior Bowl, like, of course. But like a couple of years back, man, at what point did you ever have a coach or an NFL scout ever say something that like really inspired you? Like this actually might be really close.
Man, and like I said, I mentioned it earlier. My coach will move me to corner, man, from day one. Like he had been saying, you're gonna go to the NFL, man. You're gonna, blah blah blah. It don't matter where you go, you're gonna do, big things. And of course, my dad always believed me, stuff like that. But that was the first. My football coach was, the one who kind of kept planning in my head, like, yo, you're really gonna go. You stay healthy, do what you need to do. And my sophomore year, I believed it. You can ask anybody. From my freshman year, I was not young and dumb, but man, I was very, eccentric about just my future, and I felt like I could do anything, and not to the point where I was cocky. I was just really, really just excited, and I believed in myself a lot. And my sophomore year, that all of that kind of, I guess, came to fruition. Had a pretty good sophomore season in 2019 before COVID. And that's after that season, that's kind of when my coach, my position coach would sometimes call me and be like, hey man, he'll always start off with some, man, I hope you're working, I hope you're doing something, blah blah blah. I got people calling me, and I'm like, all right, coach, yeah, I hear you, blah blah blah. And we didn't have a 2020 season because of COVID. So 2021, man, they kind of just start rolling in. A scout from every team, and I'm doing interviews with them. They're asking me a million questions, and it was a blessing. Every last one of them, I learned a lot from those guys that came in, and had a lot of good conversations, and a lot of it was me kind of just asking questions. How I could be a better football player, what to expect, what do I need to do within the next few months or the next half year to make it to the next level. And I soaked up that knowledge, and this kind of is where I'm at now, down here training.
Yeah, that's awesome. So was it on your radar at all that you might get the call to the Senior Bowl?
Before in the summer, I had made a watch list. Originally, the first watch list I made was like the NFLPA Bowl or something like that. And then, I get out of workouts one day. It was like, matter of fact, I think we're actually in fall camp. Man, I'm tired, like dog tired. And I get all these notifications on my phone. I'm seeing like Twitter, Instagram blowing up. And, I'm reading, I'm like, whoa, Senior Bowl. And the thing is crazy because, 4 or 5 months prior, that's actually something I wrote down in my notes, which is my wall screen, was one of my goals was to make the Senior Bowl. And a lot of times, sometimes we set goals and we're not really sure if we're gonna make them. We hope we make them, and we do what we can to make them. But at the end of the day, you do what you can do and control what you can control. So when I seen that, it was kind of like, okay, well, this is a real possibility. I went out there, played the best I could this season, and end of the year, I ended up getting a surprise kind of visit from Jim Nagy, um, and that was a great experience. My teammates were there, family was there, the whole nine. So it was great, and that's kind of how that played out.
Yeah, and there's a great video of that. I'm pretty sure it's on your Twitter feed. But I love
Yeah.
that you've been writing down goals. What an awesome thing to look back and reflect on. But you didn't let
Yeah.
COVID derail you at all. Like no 2020 season. I'd bet for a lot of guys, man, that can be a dream killer. Not that it kills it, but you get so dejected that you kill it yourself. You didn't seemingly let the negativity get into you.
Man, not at all. That whole COVID year, all I did, I was a delivery boy on this military base for pizza or Domino's, and I was doing that. So I would lift, practice, go to work, and repeat. And man, that was probably one of my that was a time in my life I feel like I really was hustling and kind of just getting to it. I feel like it made me more of a just a man and more responsible, stuff like that. So I was definitely learning, like maybe not everything on the field. It was just a lot of life lessons, maturity, growing up, knowing just how to handle myself as a man. And believe it or not, I think a lot of that probably just played into this season. The training I did and the mindset I had through that COVID year, it kind of all just played out this season. So
Yeah, I want to just shift gears a little bit. From an outsider's perspective, like myself, when I saw Deion Sanders become Coach Deion Sanders and bring a lot of attention to HBCU schools, seemingly I felt like as an average fan, now I'm really more engaged in that entire scene. Whereas it was nothing personal on my part. It's just if it's not on TV, it's almost out of sight, out of mind. So now it seems like he has really shined a spotlight. Do you feel that as a player, actually, not that you've played against Jackson State this year, but did you feel that there's been any sort of difference in the level of attention that schools like FSU are getting?
Absolutely. When he came or when he announced that he was coaching, I could see it. Like, I kind of not predicted, but that's a pretty big name. He's well respected. And he's putting together a good program. It's not like it's just he's just a big name and he's running some bad program. They made it to the championship. They didn't win, but they made it to the championship. They're getting big recruits, and it's kind of just showing there's a lot of talent in HBCU. I think a lot of times the main thing that's missing is maybe a few things here and there, facilities, maybe organization, and just attention, things like that, funding. And all of those things could be changed, just with, a couple of maybe years, seasons, 5, 10 years from now. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these HBCUs were going against Power 5 schools and winning games. So
Totally agree. Totally agree. Now, if I'm going to mention one coach, I got to follow it up with Coach Hayes. As we can't talk about the job that Deion's doing if we don't mention your coach, who came in 2016 and, year in and year out before you guys even got there, powerhouse school. What can you attribute to how Coach Hayes runs his program for the level of consistent success? Is there anything that you've been able to take from his approach in maybe how you sort of approach your craft as you look to become a professional?
Definitely. Coach Hayes is big on making plays. He kind of made me turn from a, I don't want my receiver catching the ball to like I want to catch the ball, and I don't want to just catch the ball. This year I want to score. So it was definitely a developed kind of mindset through this time I had with Coach Hayes, and he's a great coach. He's great at bringing in players. Unfortunately, the 3 years or the 4 years I've been here, I haven't got to win a championship. But I mean, we do get there every year, and I'm 100% sure they'll be there next year, and I'm 100% sure they'll win the championship next year. So it's the proof is in the pudding. He's a great coach. And the team we've been losing to, they're a great program. So it's not like we're just losing to some, just subpar team. They run a good program up there at Bowie too. So Coach Hayes is doing a great job, and I'm sure he'll continue to do a great job with Fayetteville State.
I believe it. Now, I did see someone ask you previously, because in the NFL, when you're getting in, you kind of get typecasted a little bit, right? They say, well, this guy's a zone corner. This guy's, he's off. This guy, can play press. I heard you say that, man, you're a do-it-all. You're not going to let someone put you in a box.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, man, a lot of people they see I'm tall and they think, oh man, all he can do is press. Honestly, I think I could play off, press, zone. Whatever the job requires, I feel like I can get it done. And if there's a job I can't get done, give me some time and I guarantee you I'll be able to learn how to get it done. So that's not to say I don't have anything to work on, but I'm very confident in my skills. And I know with time, I'll be a great corner. And I'll be a great corner in the NFL too, not just, at the collegiate level.
So who do you model your game after? If not model your game, who do you watch film on?
Man, growing up, I was a big Sean Taylor fan. I grew up live in Washington, of course, so I was a big Sean Taylor fan. I watch a lot of guys. Darrelle Revis. That's probably my favorite corner ever was Darrelle Revis. Just how his whole game, man, shutting down the whole side of the field. To this day, I still watch his film. And players I watch now, kind of. Jalen Ramsey, he's a great corner. J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, both good corners. Trayvon Diggs, great ball skills. Love watching him and his interceptions. There's a lot of guys, man. There's not just one player I model. I try to take a little bit from all these great athletes and great DBs in the NFL and kind of add that to my game, be the best me I can be.
Definitely. Now, I really want to ask because not too many guys get name, image, likeness deals. I mean, the NIL has only been around for a year, but you were one of them. So I would just love to hear the story of how that came together. Because for those that don't know, I believe it was the CEO of Fuddruckers, Nicholas Perkins, who also happens to own a Church's Chicken. How did that whole story come about?
So Nicholas Perkins, like you said, thank God for him. He's actually one of my frat brothers. And, he kind of approached me with the idea. And of course, I jumped all over it. We ran it through the school. We got that done. And, it's a blessing, man. Matter of fact, before I'd actually got the NIL deal, I'd never been to the churches in Fayetteville, and I'd never even eaten churches. So, it was an experience in itself, and it was a good experience because I went there at 8, and the food was actually good. Ended up going back, so I'm very happy about how all of this played out. And then I got to actually take advantage of just the NIL, kind of new opportunity. Everything going around with the NCAA. So I'm glad I got to get in on it.
Definitely. So, man, as we get close to wrapping up here, I had mentioned from the top, I think it's been like 46 years since a individual from your school has been drafted. Like I said, your first team All-American, HBCU. Do you feel any sort of pressure, not pressure that you put on yourself, but any external pressure of like having to represent your school, represent all HBCUs, going to the Senior Bowl, going to the draft? People are going to say, hey, he's a small school prospect. He's never played up against this level of talent before. The same stuff they always throw at guys in your shoes. But do you feel any of that pressure? And if you do, how do you deal with it?
Man, I feel like, I don't feel like I have any pressure at all. If anything, I think I put more pressure on myself than anybody else. It's not like people are always texting me saying, oh man, if this doesn't pan out, blah, blah, blah. They give me words of encouragement, and I use that, of course, to fuel my fire. But the fire is already there, man. I'm very self-motivated. And I don't feel like I kind of feel as if I'm underrated. When I go down there, I think a lot of guys aren't expecting me to be as good as I am. And I just can't wait to go down there and show how talented and how good of a football player I am. So, definitely no pressure, especially with the preparation I'm going through. If anything, it's just more so me being excited. I'm anxious to get out there and showcase myself.
Now, do you pay any attention at all to like other names of other guys that'll be there?
I know a couple of the guys that'll be here. There's a couple people that are going that I'm training with down here, but I know the lists are coming out, but the only Senior Bowl like videos and they're all 2020 stuff. Me just watching the old one-on-ones. I don't really know any of the receivers or DBs going yet, besides the one I just mentioned.
Fair enough. Well, man, to get you out of here, I got a couple quick questions for you. I call it the gauntlet, so I hope you're ready. I need your knee-jerk reaction to a few things, starting with what is most important, having the number one offense or the number one defense?
In the NFL today, I'm not gonna lie to you. I would believe probably having the number one offense, and that's probably crazy coming from a defensive player, but just the rules that are in place. It's not 2000 or 1995 where a lot of teams are kind of running the ball and stuff like that. A lot of people can put up points, and you can see that with the Chiefs. They didn't their defense isn't all that great, and their offense makes up for it. So I feel like a lot of teams are kind of fitting towards that. But I do think having a solid defense, like if you have a great defense and your offense just isn't bad, long as the offense isn't bad and your defense is great, I feel like it would be the team with a great offense and a bad defense. So
fair enough. Now,
yeah.
do you have a pregame ritual that you stick to?
The only pregame ritual I really do put in my AirPods, listen to some reggae music, do some yoga, and that's about it, man. I go out there and play. I don't need too much to go out there and do my thing.
Now, do you have a favorite football memory so far?
Man, my favorite. I have a lot of favorite football memories. But probably my first, which is probably my most important one, I guess, would be Pee Wee football. Probably it was like a snowy game almost, or it was really cold outside, and I broke like 7 tackles. We were losing the game going into halftime with no time left. I scored before halftime, and that was just probably my most exciting play ever as a football player. So that's probably why I remember it so well in Pee Wee.
Love it. Now, what's most important? Is it the players or is it the scheme?
Well, it just depends. If the players aren't if you don't have a player like this just outstanding, then I would say the scheme. Because if the scheme is good, you can plug and play players. But if you have talented players, then I'd always say the players. Just because you can't teach some things. Some guys are just ballers, man. You can put them anywhere and they'll make a play. So if you ask me, I'd rather have a talented player than just a really great scheme. Because I feel like with a good scheme and then great players, I'd be better than a great scheme and okay players. So you can go either way though. Scheme is important, so it's just your preference, I guess.
There's no right answer. It's a trap question.
Right. Yeah, it is.
Man, last one for you. What is the best piece of advice that you would give to anyone, call it a high school kid, that says, hey, man, how do I get to where you are right now?
I would say just consistently do whatever your position is or whatever you do, consistently lift. I feel like it always starts in the weight room. So get that under your belt. If you're in high school, run track, definitely run track. I feel like a lot of times that's probably where you develop a lot of your speed and the speed will actually last because you're growing with it. And consistently get outside and do some type of training, whether that be you just get the ladder for 30 minutes after. You could do 30 minutes of training every day. That's nothing. Do something, just something to perfect just, your football craft, whether you're offensive tackle, lineman, or linebacker, DB, whatever you're doing. Find something every day you can do a schedule, make it a habit, kind of just get out there and get just a little better at something every day. And, you know, all of that time that's built up and you're doing the same routine, doing all of that time is going to multiply itself. And within maybe a year or two, I definitely think you'll see the result.
It's like compounding interest, man. Just got to keep working at it.
Yeah.
Man, Joshua Williams, for those that don't know the name, they're going to know it soon because they're going to be hearing it on Sundays. It's at JWillOfficial on social media. I've never had a prospect come on this podcast and not get drafted. So I think this is a good omen for you. But man,
yes, sir.
So excited to watch the story as it unfolds. Thanks for taking the time. Any last words you want this to end on?
No, I thank God for the position I'm in. I thank my family and my coaches for helping me get there.
Beautiful.